Greetings everybody. Happy Saturday, and I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. If you're in Virginia, I heard there's going to be another wintry mix coming down from up north, so I hope you guys stay warm and be safe if you're going to be on the road this weekend. So I'm gonna do this live town hall, fairly brief for this evening. I already did one last Thursday. Thanks for joining us. I just kind of want to give you a heads up on the state of our campaign and give you some sort of an insight on some of the things that we are currently exploring and having to deal with, as well as our progress. So I went down to speak at an event this afternoon, well attended, event in the Hampton Roads area, and managed to share a little bit about my background. Given that I'm one of the most different, if not the only different Republican candidate in this year's primary, I guess some people are still trying to fill things out. I apologize. My little puppy is a little agitated because she wanted to go play outside, but it's already dark and it's not going to be safe for her to be out there in the dark. Just like, a kid. I wouldn't want my children to be playing out in the dark. So she's kind of agitated. But anyway, so our campaign is gaining traction. We're basically at a very grassroots level, and most of our supporters are regular Virginians. And we're, getting some funds, and people are donating at bare minimum, just because they believe in what we stand for. They believe in our overall strategy and agenda, and trying to detoxify the political environment in the state of Virginia, as well as basically improving the state of affairs economically and politically in the state of Virginia. So having said that, I got to speak a little bit today and share my platform and my background with fellow conservatives and some undecided. There were some undecided people that showed up today, and I'm glad that I managed to come and speak to them. Okay, folks, because in all reality, politics and politicians will basically come and go. But the way that we build trust and momentum in any campaign is to, unite our people, our population, and creating an agenda that everybody can be a part of. They feel safe to be in it and participate. So that's a part of my campaign strategy. Obviously, I'm the most visible so far regarding online, visibility, and my YouTube and podcast and various social media platform channels are pretty easy to find online. So I obviously grew up during the social media era and revolution, compared to some of my fellow Republican candidates. I have the utmost respect for them. I commend them for wanting to make a difference in our state and basically making sure that our values and traditions, as well as country and marketplace, is well protected. So I commend my fellow Republican candidates to want to basically serve in our government. So where are we now as a campaign? As many of you saw our announcement on our YouTube channel and also on our various mailing campaigns, I've kind of, hit a snag on the road and kind of slowed me down a little. One was basically when I had to rush off to the emergency room. And on top of that, just, typical campaign stress and fatigue on my body and mind. I'm not the favorite Republican candidate. And because of that, people had voiced their opinion, and some of these people that came to me and told me certain things, one of which is that I'll never be a nominee, even in spite of the fact that we haven't submitted our signatures or even participated in the primaries yet to even call who's going to be the nominee. So it's really difficult to understand and assess why certain people would even share that opinion with me, knowing that I'm actively campaigning. But it is what it is. It happened. So we just keep on going at this point. So our campaign, as I mentioned, is gaining traction. We're building momentum. I'm glad that I connect with the public and manage to recruit additional volunteers, because we definitely need more volunteers throughout the state. We need more funds so I can travel. So I said many times that most of my funds are coming out of my own wallet, which is pretty small compared to King Mark Warner's gigantic wallet. Okay, so he's got his people, his staff that helps him campaign, and then he's got his purchasing power that he basically uses to utilize technology with, and also influence certain press activities within the state that a regular Virginian or candidate simply will not have access to, or even be able to participate in. Okay, so if you were to put our network together, okay, the Democrat candidates running in the primary, Democrat primary, and the Republican primaries, all the candidates combined, their net worth, still not enough to amount against King Mark Warner's donations that he managed to amass back in September. He's still recruiting more funds. He's still asking for more funds and donations to his campaign, even though he's already got millions on top of his tangible and intangible assets as a U.S. Senator in the Intelligence Committee, chairman of the Intelligence Committee, and on top of his wealth, which is obviously he's one of the wealthiest in the Senate, over 200 million worth, okay, of purchasing power. So that just basically tells you what we're up against as regular citizens, campaigning against, someone that has pretty much a political monopoly in the state of Virginia. If you look at the history of King Mark Warner's campaigns, it was pretty much a lump-sided type of contest, because he's got always more in terms of purchasing power, donations, visibility as a career politician, name recognition, and all that stuff. Okay, so that's extremely hard to dethrone King Mark Warner, but I believe I'm the one candidate that will be able to do so, mainly because I'm starting as a regular Virginian from a legal immigrant background who went through, the ups and downs of increasing my ability and skill set so that I can one day serve our country. And I believe I've managed to accumulate enough authority over certain conditions for me to influence the political environment and the market environment in the state of Virginia. And I'll talk about this further throughout my campaign, but I think you can also follow us on our YouTube channel, and I kind of itemize most of my positions on our YouTube channel, so you can find certain subjects that might be relevant to you. And if you don't find them, please text us, email us, or connect with us via our social media platform. I'd be more than happy to engage you via our platforms and answer those questions for you. Okay. So what else is going on? So we've come across some, setbacks, and I guess the more visible you become, and the more influential influence that you gain as a politician, the steeper, or as a nobody politician, a no-name politician, the harder things get. And that's something that we're having to basically deal with today. Things are getting harder and harder, and even within our own party, even the Republican Party, we're still not the favorite. We're the underdogs, and we're not getting a whole lot of support. But I think even now it seems like things are picking up. People are warming up to our message. They're getting to know me as a candidate more now because they go to our social media platform more. They Google my name and they find out certain things that I've done in the past and what it is I'm going to be doing in the future and all that stuff. So we are gaining momentum that way, but I still need help from the public. I need volunteers from various districts and regions throughout the state of Virginia, and I also need funds. Donate to our campaign so I can travel and meet with more people and engage the public as often as I can before we submit our signatures in April. Okay, folks, we definitely need help with funding because most of the funds are coming out of my pocket, and it's pretty tough. I mean, I love to serve. I want to serve, and I ask that you also help us serve by supporting our campaign, either volunteering or donating to us. So what else is going on? I keep on still paying attention to the current quagmire that we're having to deal with the new, governor and the overall strategy of this new governor. I haven't really seen a whole lot of, negative effects at this point within, the 2 months that they've been in office. I have heard and started to pay attention to certain taxation that they've introduced into the marketplace, but the effects and ramification of those have yet to be seen. So I'm not going to, jump the gun and speak on certain, either revenue generating taxes compared to any other net gains or net loss that we as a market would have to deal with. So we'll put that off until we have enough data. We'll review those things down the road, maybe at the end of mid-March to maybe late March. We'll start looking at data then. What else is going on? Are we attracting investment in the state of Virginia? I haven't seen a whole lot of them yet. I'm hoping that we'll start getting more investors to enter into, and participate in job creation in the state. Create more jobs and basically build the local economy in various communities, especially in central Virginia into southwest Virginia. I'm hoping that one day that we basically alleviate the lives of those southwestern Virginians that are really struggling in terms of purchasing power, their ability to support their families and have a decent wage. So we're going to definitely focus on those and also balance things out in Northern Virginia. There's a lot of federal employees in the Northern Virginia. I am one of the federal employees that lived in Northern Virginia and Washington, D.C. So I understand what they're having to deal with as well. But obviously it's not in their best interest to be liberal at this point in the game. These individuals in Northern Virginia, it's not in their best interest to support a liberal agenda because it will hurt them not only job-wise, it will also hurt them socially up in Northern Virginia. So it's not, it's not a winning strategy for many of the liberals up in Northern Virginia to remain liberal. And I'll discuss that later. Also, maybe an example would be these illegal immigrants that are trying to push back and fight against ICE in Northern Virginia, and it's not in their best interest to do that. Just learn, comply with ICE and Homeland Security. And if you were to go back to your home country, then at least you have had history living in the country, in the U.S., and then just apply and then return to the U.S. That would be the best way to engage, with Homeland Security and ICE. You may gain favor from, our consulate in your home country by being, a person that abide by the laws and regulation of the U.S. Okay, so think about those kind of things, because maybe the overall situation wouldn't be so bad had people just complied to begin with. Before coming in, they went through the motions just like my parents did. My parents waited almost 10 years before they were granted and invited to enter the U.S. So, just be mindful of those kinds of situations also when legal immigrants came to the U.S. Okay, so, and trust me, America welcomes everyone. I've seen it. Okay, even asylum seekers, refugees, we embrace and welcome them. We just ask that they respect our sovereign rights to, enforce our immigration laws. That's all we're asking, really, because every country around the world has their own immigration law. So why won't people, respect ours? But yeah, that's pretty much what I would recommend for people up in Northern Virginia to, just comply. If you were to return to your country, then apply when you're back in your country to return to the U.S. Okay, and become legal immigrants, and then apply for a citizenship. Okay, if not already a citizenship, I mean, if you're already a legal immigrant, you should have applied for your citizenship to begin with. But okay, I don't understand exactly what you had to deal with, but I know that there are many options that you could have taken to become legal in the country. I mean, I've come across illegals that became legal eventually. They just went through the motions and process and all that things. But yeah, what else is going on that I'd like to talk to you guys about? Obviously, we're in the midterms, so this is one of the most important election season in the country, because we have the presidential election in 2 years again. And then obviously my election is coming up in June, because we have the primaries in June, and then whoever advances is going to be going to the general election. But with this said, things are still not well defined, but I am very optimistic as far as our position, because I think we have a very competitive campaign. Granted, we're underfunded and we don't have a lot of volunteers, but I think overall we're going to succeed to get on the primary and be able to engage and influence hearts and minds of the public once we're on the primaries. I have no idea in terms of signatures, how many signatures everybody's gotten so far. We are getting and recruiting a bunch of signatures too. But granted, we've had a lot of these snowstorms and very cold, frigid weather outside. There really isn't a whole lot of people that want to stay out and sign signatures, out in the cold. So there's a lot of things that we're having to deal with now. And I'm hoping, eventually that the Election Commission of Virginia would actually transfer all these signature, petitions online, like virtually. I've actually put up a campaign, like a petition, a virtual petition on change.org, so that we can kind of make things easier on the public to support and basically sign these petitions, online petitions, signatures. What else do I want to talk to you guys about? There's tons. I wish you guys posted your questions. I think you guys are kind of inundated already with a lot of my opinions and suggestions and, answers to questions on our YouTube channel. I am the most visible on social media out of all of our competition. I shared the good, the bad, and the ugly. very transparent. But I think it's important for me to do that, even though I don't really want to, share everything about me. But I think many of our electorate and many of our citizens would like to really get to know the candidate, to the, like really drill down on them, like their core values. And sometimes a candidate will just have to share those information. Like, I mean, I shared, there's some times that I've been labeled as oversharing. But, in today's world, you really need to get to know your candidate, because many candidates nowadays, especially those candidates that pay people and create personas online and kind of make them look good more than who they really are the types of candidates that become very corrupt once they're in office. And that's the kind of candidates that you want to remove from office, because you didn't really realize that they're going to be, a shapeshifter. They're like, they're telling you one thing, and then when they get in power, they'll do the complete opposite of what they promised you. So you won't be able to judge someone until you follow them on social media, until you see their ups and downs, you hear about certain things that they had to deal with. So, I mean, my cases are out there for the public to opine on and, cast a judgment on. I'm okay with that, because I realize the court of public opinion is what's going to influence hearts and minds, not the purchasing power of a politician. So, at least ideally, not the purchasing power, not, their ability to pay off votes and, hire people. But at this point in the game, folks, the overall political landscape in the country, and even the landscape in the state of Virginia, has become very toxic. And we need to change things around, because if not, there's going to be a revolution once again. We're into 250 years of becoming a country, and I'm starting to feel that there's going to be another, some sort of an uprising, because of the disenfranchised and dissatisfaction of dissatisfaction of the public, for both sides. And so, yeah, that's what I'm assessing that will happen in the next couple years from now. And I really, cannot emphasize this enough. We need to dethrone King Mark Warner, because he's created a political monopoly in the state of Virginia, and it's gotten very toxic because of that. Forget about mudslinging. I mean, these are toxic stuff that's happening. And it's not going to be of any value or benefit to anyone unless we start addressing these issues. I mean, when I was talking today, I spoke my heart. I spoke my mind, and I spoke my heart, because I know things are getting way out of control. Things are deteriorating. It's gone downhill big time. So it's in the pooper now. Politically speaking, Virginia is in the pooper. Okay, politically speaking. And that's why things are manifesting to the point that it's so toxic. Even this gerrymandering situation. But the reason the Democrats have gotten so bold is because they use artificial intelligence. They use certain statistics and algorithm and metrics to see what are the chances of them becoming one political party state. Just like the monarchy. Okay, and we push back against monarchy because we know we don't want a dictatorship. We don't want a monarch in our state. Okay, we want to be free as citizens to make our own will, freedom to choose and elect whoever we want and support what we want. Okay, we don't want to be a part of a monarchy, but yet that's being developed as we speak today. All right, folks. So what else did I want to talk to you guys about? Again, please share anything that you would like for me to talk about, because I don't want this to become a monologue. I understand this is a virtual town hall, and I try to share as much as I can with you, but I've created tons of content already. So if you really want to get to know me, all you have to do is Google search my stuff and you'll find me there online. All right, folks. So please interact with me, share your needs and wants, anything that you want me to address. I know most of you join these virtual meetings later anyway. You watch it after, the assigned time, and that's fine, because that's the whole purpose of the virtual town hall, so that you have the flexibility to listen to our content, in your free time. So that's fine. I just would like for you to share and ask us questions so that we would have additional material to, share our answer on our town halls like these. What else do I want to talk about? There's quite a bit of stuff. All right, folks, and I'm going to keep on building up on these conversations and topics in the next couple days, months, or whatever, leading up to the general election, regardless of what happens in the primary, because I think it's important for me to keep, our voice available and heard, so that we can at least influence the conservative population and even the not conservative population in the state of Virginia, because I think it's important for us to preserve a lot of conservative values, especially within the marketplace and in the political system. Because I've seen what's going on around the world, folks. This is like my core competency, and my professional background is building markets, making sure countries are stable enough for people to invest in, to create capacity, to create jobs. And right now things are not looking good for Virginia. So that's one of the reasons why I decided to get engaged in politics once again, because I really am not the typical politician. Yeah, that's where we're at this point. With this said, folks, thank you for joining me. Until we meet again, see you Thursday. Take care. Enjoy your weekend. Bye.